good day to all participants. Thank you very much for joining us in today's webinar, co-organized by SWA and Prominent Fluid Controls Far East Private Limited. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to go through on the following. First, on the housekeeping. To ensure a smooth session, please mute your microphone and turn off the camera to communicate with us after the event. Please share your questions in the chat where we will try to provide answers where possible in the Q&A segment. Do identify yourself so we can respond to any unanswered questions. We will be recording this session and reserve the rights to the video. Please complete a post-event survey, which upon return, we will forward the recording and presentation deck to the respondents. All information shared is for information only and does not contain or convey any legal advice or administrative assistance. Information shared today is true and accurate as of publication date. SWA and Prominent reserve all rights in the provided materials. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. C. Yao Sheng. Mr. C is the council member of Singapore Water Association. He is also the Director of Projects with Black & Wedge Southeast Asia Private Limited. Over to you, Mr. C.
Thank you very much, Jasmine, for the introduction. A very good afternoon to all of you and wishing everybody safe and healthy. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar on an interesting topic suggested by Prominent Fluid Controls Far East Private Limited, increasing demands in treating wastewater management in our region, overcoming pain points, and boosting efficiency. Prominent's Mr. Stephen Hines in Germany and Mr. Joshua Alusami in Malaysia will tell us how their technology advancements can assist in easing difficulties in wastewater management and treatment. Less than 3% of the water on Earth is fresh, and only 1% is accessible. Water is therefore the world's most vital resource for sustaining life and a precious commodity that very much affects our quality of life. According to the UN, billions of people in the world still lack access to water. Globally, 75% of the people affected by water stress live in Asia. Although having relatively high rainfall, ASEAN countries are facing more frequent and more severe water shortage, aggravated by population growth, urbanization, deforestation, rising sea level, and pollution. Some 2 billion people in Asia are projected to face more severe water scarcity by 2050. Amid climate change uncertainties, unless positive interventions are collaboratively enforced, ensuring water security is critical for any countries. UN reported that 80% of the world's wastewater is discharged without any treatment due to lack of infrastructure or technical expertise. In Singapore, out of necessity, all used water is collected and treated, and a large portion of it is treated to a very high standard suitable for reuse. SWA members are encouraged to share our expertise in further improving treatment efficiencies and in playing a part in solving wastewater problem outside Singapore. Singapore Water Association, started 16 years ago in 2004, has been promoting networking, facilitating opportunities for collaboration, and fostering exchange of ideas among member companies who are active or interested in water industry Our mission is to develop a vibrant and dynamic water industry in Singapore, with the vision to be a premium association in Singapore as a regional and global water hub. SWA actively connects with the Global Water Network through forming partnership and other national water associations, setting up Singapore pavilions at overseas trade shows, and conducting overseas missions and business seminars. From a humble 9 founding member association in 2004, our membership has grown to 264, comprising a diverse mix of companies, representing the entire water value chain of in the water industry. Because of COVID-19, many of the activities planned by SWA cannot be realized. But SWA still work very closely with various agencies, companies, and R&D institutes in an effort to support our members and water companies in Singapore through virtual knowledge sharing to continue to promote networking opportunities and partnerships. This webinar today is co-organized by SWA and one of our members, Prominent Fluid Controls. Prominent will share with us how the system can help in improving efficiency in wastewater treatment. They have been established in Singapore for 40 years and are SWA members since 2005. There's a growing demand for sustainable water management, wastewater treatment, and recycling systems. Companies must be open to collaboration and seeking partnerships to address challenges together. SWA would like to see more complementary collaboration among our members, thus solidifying our Singapore status as a model for integrated water management, helping to reaffirm Singapore's commitment to water security and sustainability, and together emerging as a stronger water hub. I look forward to Prominence sharing their solutions and know-how with us. I look forward to this knowledge sharing session leading to opportunities for all of us to make a positive impact in wastewater management in Singapore and in the region. Back to you, Jasminda.
Thank you very much for the welcome address, Mr. C. Yao Sheng. Now it gives me the pleasure to invite our keynote speakers, Mr. Stefan Hen, Director for Business Unit Digitalization and Industry 4.0, Prominent Germany, and Mr. Joshua Arulusamy, Technical Manager of Prominent Singapore and Malaysia. They'll be sharing with us on how technology advancements can assist in overcoming the many pain points faced when dealing with wastewater. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Josh. Let me share my screen.
Thank you very much.
Right. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending our webinar today. My name is, as introduced, my name is Joshua. Later on, my colleague Stefan will be taking over from me for the Industry 4.0 or IoT part of our presentation. Today's topic, I would just like to add 2 more words in front. We would like to call it smart solutions, because we are going more towards this technology-based approach, more of a Industry 4.0 type of approach. That's what we are trying to introduce today. While I understand among our attendees today, there might be some with much more in-depth experience in wastewater treatment and process design. But today we are picking up some examples and showing how technology can help to improve and also provide the possibilities and solutions required for you to use and adapt to your processes. Okay, so without further ado, let's start off with a simple overview of this water cycle, where basically, let me switch to where we have water intake by water treatment plants, which then treats the water and supplies it to household agricultures and also factories and industries. Now, sewage from the households will be directed to our municipal sewage treatment plants, whereas factories and industries will individually are required to treat their own wastewater and meeting certain standards before they are discharged. So this brings us to this next topic, wastewater treatment, called the silent emergency or crisis. Even Mr. C mentioned today, 80% of our wastewater from the homes and industries finds its way back to nature without being treated or even reused. Now, if I go back to this picture over here, yes, this is the ideal case. This is what we want, but this is not what we see in most of our neighboring countries or even our own countries. For example, in Indonesia alone, we can see that more than 75% of the rivers monitored are highly polluted, and only half of them comply with good river quality standards. In the Philippines, you have millions of cubic meters of untreated wastewater being dumped into the Manila Bay and Laguna Lake. I'm sure you have heard in Malaysia, we have recent water disruptions and plant shutdowns, which were then traced back to illegal discharge by factories. So, we see a lot of movement, a lot of government initiatives to increase legislation and more punitive fines, but it doesn't get anywhere because the struggle lies in the enforcement and how we are able to manage all these different industries that are scattered all over the country, some in very rural areas. So that's what we would like to address today. Some regional insights of the countries involved. For Singapore, it is clearly stated what cannot be discharged. A pH of between 6 and 9 is fine. Anything less or more cannot be discharged. Temperature cannot be hotter than 45 degrees Celsius. And caustic alkalinity cannot be more than 2000 ppm of calcium carbonate. And there's a growing interest in real-time monitoring, not only to regulate, but also for us to react faster and improve efficiency and reducing wastage. In Malaysia, you will see it's a recurring theme here. The biggest challenge is enforcement. We don't necessarily have the resources and manpower to go to every single places, especially in Malaysia. Palm oil mills is a big industry for us, and palm oil mills are very much in rural areas. And even for me, at one point when I visited one of a treatment plant in Kelantan, you'd be surprised. Upstream of the treatment plant was a palm oil mill, and I could smell the palm oil mill coming out from that factory. So those are the conditions we have nowadays. Now, going more towards countries like Philippines now, monitoring is sort of left to individual companies for them to regulate. Places like Indonesia, again, enforcement is hard. And not only in Indonesia, we see it in Malaysia sometimes. There's discharge of illegal effluent, sometimes late at night or during rainy seasons, because you can't monitor it 24/7. You only have specific checkup once a month or once every 6 months, sort of. So standard methods of examining wastewater. So guidelines for testing samples at laboratories. Not everyone is close to an accredited lab that they can send their wastewater to be tested immediately. As you can see, some of these parameters need to be analyzed within 15 minutes. even though your lab is nearby, you still need to make sure that they're preserved and properly there for us to able to get proper data. So this is why it's important for us to have real-time monitoring and continuous measurements. This is a simple process flow of how a typical wastewater treatment looks like. It doesn't, there might be some changes, but what we're trying to highlight here is all these orange boxes highlight where Prominent can come in as a solution partner. We have our measurement and control devices. This is our measurement control devices are also analyzers for water parameters like pH, ORP, dissolved oxygen, chlorine, and together they are communicating well with what we are actually very well known for, which is metering pumps or dosing pumps. These dosing pumps meter chemicals such as coagulant, flocculant, pH adjustment chemicals. In turn, they form this cohesive environment where the controllers are optimizing the dosage of the chemicals based on requirement. We also have products which are water treatment products such as polymer preparation systems and disinfection and filtration systems. So let's pick one part of the process, the dissolved oxygen monitoring in the aeration basin. We all know that aeration basin is being aerated usually by a blower, and most of the time DO is not really monitored. Most of the time the operation of the blower is manual and it's always on all the time. And energy costs for running a blower all the time is actually very high. And this is what contributes actually to a lot of cost consumption for factories. Besides that, we also want to make sure that the sensors we pick are very suitable for the application we use. If you talk about wastewater, it's very dirty, high solid content. And if you put a sensor that is something that is sensitive, we also have to make sure that the sensor is able to take this high load of solids. And at the end of the day, it's not just the sensor alone. It's basically the controller taking the data, analyzing it, storing it in the cloud, and at the same time, controlling the blower. This whole process is what optimizes our biological process. So for DO monitoring and control, why is it important? I mentioned about blower operation. Inefficient operation of blower system and compressed air network increases energy consumption, operational costs, and even risk of performance drop. More DO doesn't mean it's good. Under aeration aside, over aeration is also a serious issue for process quality. First of all, even 1 to 2 ppm above the required DO range can be wasteful. Aside, if you over aerate, you can break up the flocks that you form, creating thin flocks, which prevents them from settling, which then upsets the rest of your treatment process. Denitrification can be inhibited because when you have so much oxygen, the bacteria would rather use the provided oxygen than consume the oxygen bound to the nitrate. This will then affect the alkalinity and the pH, which over time will lead to chemical consumption in order to keep these parameters within acceptable range. So what is our solution? Is DO monitoring is important because we want to monitor the parameter that we would like to control. We also want a DO sensor that is easily installed, either by submerging the DO sensor or in some cases in a bypass fitting. Okay, and this controller then measures it, controls by PID, the blower for feeding atmospheric oxygen into the treatment stage. And at the same time, we are continuously taking in data because DO and blower operation is not directly proportional. We need weeks of data and then we see, okay, we are still under, we're going to increase the blower slightly more. And then after collecting enough data, that's when we will know that, okay, this is what our optimum operation parameters is. So how do we control airflow to the basin? There are many ways to do that. This can be using variable speed drives for the blower. If you have multiple basin and a set of blowers, you can have control valves on each line to the basin to control the airflow. Sometimes I've seen we measure airflow rather than DO, but this is not a direct correlation. So airflow alone cannot be used to control blowers. It doesn't have a direct relationship with DO. But DO itself is good because you can control the efficiency and you can set when you want to stop the blower once you've reached your set. Okay, so what are your key benefits? You have reduced energy because right now your blower is not always on. Once your DO is reached, it's throttling down. You have a long operation life of your blower system. You have quality assurance because you're continuously documenting your parameters, and you have virtually a trouble-free system through optimally matched components. So implementing just a DO sensor alone is not going to solve the problem. It's always a plan, do, check, act approach. Data is what's important. When we install a DO sensor, we need to collect data for a week first to observe the trend before we adjust the control, as I mentioned before. Even power logging the blower will also help to tell us how much cost savings we have on the energy. We have to make small changes, and changes require frequent monitoring, and this is what is our topic today. And at the same time, it's best we check other parameters such as ORP and alkalinity to make sure that we are on track. Now, bringing that same idea to the next some part of our process is pH neutralization and chlorination. We know pH fluctuates very widely in industries. Wastewater from production and CIP can even fluctuate between 2 to 12, and we have seen before we have to maintain a pH of 6 to 9. This can be done with a pH sensor to a controller that is able to do a bidirectional control. Bidirectional meaning you have an acid and a caustic pump. That way you can adjust the pH, increasing or negative, decreasing. And at the same time, you get the benefits of data monitoring. So we are also monitoring the discharge of the water, and we are collecting data. And this can be used by the environmental agencies to come and check or to monitor their many installations. Now, I talked about laboratory measurement. Why is it always the lab? And it's always an accredited lab because that's what you can, you need to match it towards to. But these are sensors that are online. How reliable are these? As long as the sensors are calibrated and are up to date. This is a typical pilot plant that we did. It actually tallies with the lab measurement. So even if you're very far away from an accredited lab, you are collecting useful data that can be used to monitor our water parameters. This over here is pH. pH is very straightforward. Even for chlorine, which can be very, very pH dependent on the water parameter, is also fairly stable and representative of a laboratory result. So what are the technical solutions? A complete pH control station, a measurement station for final monitoring. It's all in one. So you're not only controlling, you're also monitoring it. And at the same time, you're neutralizing the system using the dual pump control. And all of this data is being transmitted and stored for your reports. So key benefits, we have compliance with statutory requirements, cost savings and on water discharge, wastewater discharge levies. But I think primarily for us all, when we look at the bigger picture from the outside, now every plant can have its own monitoring process and control process. So a bit more in towards the gears and the pumps that works to make this all possible. A dosing pump is what meters the chemicals, and we need chemicals for our treatment process. And we have dosing pumps, not only just the pump alone, but as a skid. And it's important to have a complete skid, because metering pumps work on the basis of accuracy and precision and safety. So that's why you can't just put a pump and expect it to be accurate. We need dampeners, we need back pressure valves to ensure there's a constant pressure to the pump, to ensure you're metering the right amount of chemical every time. So this is key. If not, what you're communicating from the controller to the pump will not be correct. And staying in line with our smart solution, nowadays pumps are also smart in the sense that they are able to detect hydraulic issues such as airlock, high back pressures, blockages, and diaphragm ruptures. So all these are data and operational data that can be collected and reported. So this is showing our platform, which is what we call as the dual connects, and this is the dual connect device, sort of the router towards the cloud. So moving away, slightly a bit away from the pumps, we have our water treatment system, and I would like to highlight the polymer preparation unit. Polymer is often overlooked, but it's very critical for the flocculation process and also the dewatering process. Most of the time, sometimes I see polymer being prepared in an IBC tank with a normal high-speed stirrer and being manually prepared. This is not true. This is actually very expensive in the way of operational, because polymer, first of all, needs time to mature and be activated, which is usually 45 minutes to 1 hour. And secondly, polymer is a long chain molecule. You do not want to shear it with high-speed stirrers or high shearing stirrers. It needs to be properly prepared. And thirdly, it's messy. Polymer is messy. You do not want to be dispersing the powder everywhere, and preparing it properly is essential. So that's where the polymer preparation comes into play. And by preparing a constant concentration efficiently all the time ensures that we're dosing the right amounts of polymer into our water and getting the benefits. Okay, so I have a little video that I would like to show you all. Let me know if you cannot hear the audio, okay?
Josh, we can't hear the audio.
Okay, sorry. Let me share it again. Okay, I'll share the video directly. Let me know, okay?
Still no.
Sorry. I believe I haven't ticked the optimized video stuff. Okay, all right. I think this should work. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Okay. All right.
In the last 30 minutes, we have tried to bring you on a journey showing our commitment to water and wastewater, and have tried to show how some of our innovative technologies help overcome pain points and increase efficiencies all through the water cycle. I know some of you could still have questions regarding the challenges in doing PID control, such as in a water distribution tower, where water usage can fluctuate widely from peak hours to almost zero usage when everyone is asleep. There are so many considerations, parameters, and information to tweak and keep track of. We know that with urbanization and increasing demands for data and quick response times, it is almost impossible to keep track of all of these manually. Remember Pam's question earlier about data access and tracking? This is where we put most of our solutions together. Prominent is now focusing on making our products IoT ready to meet the stringent and important demands of our customers for data and better response times. Our devices are now able to connect to our cloud, transmitting useful data for our customers at all times. From this platform, users can generate reports, access data from 6 months before, send emails, and even respond in real time when there is an alarm or abnormal situation. This means that remote locations now become easy to access, and our experienced technicians are able to identify anomalies from the platform and narrow down failure points to advise operators. This eases troubleshooting and downtimes, which is so very critical when it comes to water, required 24/7, 365. Despite so many fluctuating parameters, Prominent engineers have been able to precisely control metering pumps to adjust itself based on the different demands at different times by studying all the data recorded by placing our devices online. No overdosage, no underdosage, only optimum dosage at all times. In this mini Prominent journey, we have just highlighted some of the examples of how, with the right reliable partner and solutions, it is possible to work together to avoid long water disruptions due to poor water quality, which could result in undrinkable water or even unsafe or illegal discharge of our wastewater. This is done by measuring, analyzing and controlling our water at each stage of the water cycle. With this, we are able to safeguard our water and ensure that we can continue developing our economy and country, while also protecting our environment for our future generations. As a Prominent family, we hold true to our global tagline, ready for you anytime, anywhere.
So I'll like to pass it on to Stefan for the Dual Connects or the business in digitalization industry 4.0 part. Stefan, please.
In the
Thank you, Josh. I hope everyone can hear me, and I hope I can hold true to being ready anytime and anywhere right now as well. So, where I come into play here is basically anything which is related to digitalization, Industry 4.0 within the Prominent Group. I joined the company 2 years ago. I have a background in innovation and technology management, and I very much focused on digitalization topics and Industry 4.0 topics. Why am I very happy to be here today? Maybe just briefly 1 minute. I'm happy to work for a company that is not one of the bad guys. I'm a father of a 2-year-old son, and I like to think of my job as being a part of like safeguarding the world my son is born into and keeping water a safe and also clean life source. So back to all the digits, ones and zeros, and remote monitoring. Yeah, we have mentioned dual connects. Basically, that is kind of the label under which all the digitalization efforts combined with our equipment come together. The idea behind all that is Prominent wanted to connect Prominent equipment, but also third-party products and even entire systems, providing all relevant fluid and system information of your installations in one place. And like basically enable you accessing your data via a secure cloud environment and on a device of your choice. And that's just like being on site at all your installations simultaneously, anytime, anywhere. And Prominent started out that journey, Dual Connects, 3 years ago. And gosh, would we have known what 2020 would have brought, we would have speeded up even more. Because remote monitoring, like reaching out to a place that is under lockdown, has a whole new meaning in this year, which is crazy here. So the whole Prominent's solution for digital fluid management, DualConnex, is comprised of several components. You have seen the little gateway or edge device that Joshua pointed out. That is basically where our IoT or industrial IoT data come from. So from connected Prominent equipment or third-party equipment, and our little gateway sends it to our cloud. The cloud is basically where all the magic happens. So calculations, the algorithms, the data provisioning and all that. And the platform is where you as a user can make use of all that data. We also have started out to open up for other players in the ecosystem or other partners. So we are having an API, an application programming interface that is basically a secured node where the customers can query their data on demand after authentication that they are eligible to do so, and integrate them into a solution of their choice. So in other web apps or mobile apps or third-party platforms. And just a little sneak peek. So beginning next year, we will have a great relaunch of our mobile app too. And that mobile app also is an important component because it will assist you in the interaction with our Prominent products. So that is about to come or be released beginning of next year. I've had the prototype already in my hand, and I can say that is an app and it works. Seen other stuff. So here there's a little glimpse on what we are providing with the DualConnex platform. So basically, the platform is not intended to keep you as long as possible using it, but rather being in the back, having your back. So usually when it's configured right, you would receive notifications and emails just if need be. And everything else will be documented and automatically monitored in the back. If you need to have a look, the platform is designed that you will directly see everything at hand. So you have a dashboard where you can put your most important values in a visualized way. You can have an overview over installments. You have all your devices which you have registered in the sidebar on the left side. So there's many different things you could use, but the whole thing is designed to be basically an assistant in the back. Yeah. So remote monitoring is a big thing, and that is something which is basically the serial solution as of today. We are, of course, also having our fingers on remote control, but nonetheless, technically, that is not a big thing to remote control a device. But legally and implications for human health, I mean, we're talking about water here. That's another thing. So we're still solving some issues. We just got the legal paperwork, for example, finished to offer remote control with our platform. So that will be kind of released also throughout next year. But remote monitoring is a serious solution. And that's what the platform is basically up for today. The platform and the solution as a whole offers various benefits. As mentioned, you have all your installations in one place. You do not need to change web sessions or drive there. You have an overview in one place. So that's a big key benefit. You can verify chemical dosage by monitoring tank levels via dosed amount and so on. You have a complete history of values, parameters, events. So device went offline, device went online, had an error, had a warning flag, the history value over time of all water parameters. It has continuous logging also of what you do on the platform. So basically, if somebody deletes an important alarm, that's also being logged and somebody will get notified. So you won't miss a thing. These alarms are actually very helpful and powerful. You can set completely free the ranges that are not being that should not be over or undershoot. You can configure several recipients of email notifications, so second, first level emergency or teams if you want. You have automatically generated reports that can be also individualized on demand. But basically, that is your documentation that is automatically being provided to you. And you can basically subscribe on the platform as a user for the devices, the application, or all devices that are relevant for you. And the platform, last but not least, also, maybe you can jump back here, Josh, just 1 second. It enables you to remote monitor potentially hazardous installations. We have heard about chemicals today, and also there is stuff you don't want to get in touch with, or if you need to go there, you need to dress up very, very, very precisely with all that security gear. So just to have a quick glimpse can save you a lot of hassle, a lot of time, and prevent you from any potential health issues. So next slide is about the API that I mentioned. So the programming interface, or the secured end node where you can query your IoT data from after authorization. And as mentioned, that's meant for integration, because we know we're like one player in the ecosystem. There's so many like operators of sewage purification plants, or of distribution networks, or there's so many different players. Some might have already their digital solutions or platforms in place. Some, of course, will have local PLCs. And what is utterly important is that all data can be accessible and integratable. So we're not trying to create a prominent ecosystem like Apple. Sorry, so you can't do anything with your Android phone if you have an Apple environment at home. No, we want to really improve things, and we want to improve efficiency and overall water treatment quality and process quality. So we are really looking also for partners and not just customers here. Next is something which is always a question, and the question about data security ranges from: is a cloud something that can be easily accessible, like fog, like you can actually walk in and you're in? No, of course not. And it really depends on the technical background knowledge that you have. But let me sum this up. Like an IT guy would be very interesting getting closer to the screen right now. But to sum this slide up, is basically our cloud is as secure as standard security in online banking. So the guys of you or ladies and gentlemen who do online banking with their smartphones or with their laptop at home, you're actually using or accepting the same security standards, and banks do so too. So we are steadily increasing those measures. They are, of course, not complete. That would be kind of a spoiler for anyone who would try to do something which is not in our interest. But these are basically like standard precautions and industry standards. So, next slide, please. As I said, we want to be like open with our solution and our digitalization solutions. So we also worked very hard on integrating third-party products or sensors that are not prominent, because we're not producing all equipment that is needed to like treat wastewater perfectly. So we are a big solution provider. We have a broad product portfolio of really good equipment, but of course there's others. Of course, there's always an installation where you don't start from a green field, but you might come in with a prominent product to something existing. So retrofitting and interoperability and integration of data is very, very important to us. So with our I/O modules, you can basically integrate anything that is giving out an industry standard signal. So let's say pressure level flow sensors, they are available with 4 to 20 milliamps, or with counter signal, any analog IOs can be integrated. Yeah, what shall I say? We even managed to integrate some competitor products unofficially, but that would be kind of a project there. So, and we like to interact with other market participants more via our API, so cloud-to-cloud communication. Everyone has the how do you say the ownership of their device architecture and their technology, and that's everybody's best profession basically. So a lot of things are possible. Standard is industrial standard signals. And here we are already. So I'd like to thank you everyone very much for listening and for your interest. I'm very excited for some questions. Please do not limit your questions to this session. So I've heard that the recordings will be provided afterwards. Feel free to contact us if you have like any further questions or specific ideas for projects or something you could imagine which would be interesting for you. Let us know, and I will pass back to Josh. Thank you very much.
I believe that's the end of our presentation. I think I'll pass it back to Josh for the Q&A session.
Thank you. A big thank you to Mr. Stefan and Mr. Joshua. Thank you both for the knowledge sharing on the insights and the opportunities on improving the wastewater management and sharing the latest solutions and technologies on boosting efficiency for wastewater treatment. Okay, so now we come to the Q&A segment. We have separately sent to me a couple of questions. So the first question is, can we remotely control these prominent devices through your Dell Connect platform, or is this only remote monitoring? Probably Stefan or Joshua can answer this question.
Yeah, Stefan, I think you might want to take this one. Or Stefan there. Okay. I believe when Stefan mentioned possibly next year, I think the main issue currently is remotely controlling is related to legal issues because we're talking about water. I think what Stefan mentioned earlier is we have finally gotten through all the legal stuff, and we have prototypes actually already where we can control our devices remotely. I even had a controller which if I didn't have it, if I didn't have this platform, I had to travel 60 minutes just to go to site to stop it. But I managed to stop it right when I was at home and go to the site the next morning instead of that night. So yes, next year. So we are working towards that. So Josh, currently remote.
Can you hear me again? Because I dropped out the session.
Yeah, man, I can hear you still. Yeah.
Perfect timing. Thanks for the question. Bye-bye. I'm pretty sure perfectly adequately answer the question. If there's further follow-up question, please let me know.
Okay. I think you're muted, Josh. You're muted.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the second question is, must the data be uploaded into a prominent cloud, or can it be uploaded to a third-party cloud?
It's a yes and a no, the answer. First off, the data should go through our DualConnect cloud. Why? We really have the control on any firmware changes on devices and compatibility issues that might result from that with our cloud connection. So what we really like to offer is the API, because there we can control that the data that is coming out there is making sense, is valid, is accurate, and the recipient is eligible to receive the data. So basically, we like to have the technical control on the communication between our equipment and a third-party solution to make sure the quality of our data holds up true to the quality of our equipment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stefan. Okay, the third question is, can this system be integrated with third-party or devices from other brands for a cohesive system?
Yeah, I mentioned that in the slides. So our intention is really to stay open, also for like partnering, exchange, also on the data level. So not only are we offering the options to integrate industrial standard signals or retrofit older prominent equipment or third-party equipment or sensors, if you want. But also with the API, we try to also be very interoperable, like compatible with other solutions. So we try to provide a maximum level of flexibility there.
Okay.
And if you find something which we haven't done yet, let's talk about it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we have the last question for today, and the question is: apart from remote monitoring and control, what other benefits does such a cloud system have for customers?
Well, that very much depends on the customer. So as we are talking about wastewater management today, and we are here also the thankful the grateful guests of the Singapore Water Association as a host. The benefits for somebody in that ecosystem might be completely different for somebody like in the food and beverage sector, for example. But drilling down to like water, we have at the beginning of our webinar today, we have heard that regulations are tightening. So governments are putting more pressure on like players in the ecosystem of water management to hold true to regulations, like to document what they are discharging, like to keep track of what chemicals they dose, and so on and so on. And the penalties are basically rising. So that's all because that topic gains priority on a global scale to a global world that we are living in. And so benefits of that solution for all here or some of the here in the audience could be that it helps to comply with those regulations. It helps to fulfill documentation duties that you have. It helps to create transparencies also for consumers, like those who are using the water that you treat after they used it or before usage. And there could be also like better efficiency synergies in cooperation throughout the ecosystem if everything gets more transparent and exchangeable and readable and transparent. Yeah. So and you can also, of course, monitor on a long-term your installations and fine-tune the configurations to get even better and even more efficient over time. Josh had some nice examples for that too in the deck. So it's a very diverse answer to a very diverse question, I would say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stefan. So we come to the end of the Q&A session. So once again, thank you both, Mr. Stefan and Mr. Joshua, on answering the questions. Any participants have further questions, do email to SWA and we shall get back to you. Now, kindly take note on our next event on the 15th December, Tuesday, 4 p.m. The topic is on emerging stronger, digitize your corporate and admin functions. Kindly take note that this will be our first hybrid event for 2020. It will be online, and at the same time, the physical session will take place at the Singapore Water Exchange, Tok Guan Road. So do look out for our EDMs on this. Also, please visit our website under the upcoming events section to view our 2021 events. Once again, Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day and stay safe, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.